now.
Bye-bye, Martha. And by the power of technology, I'm going to switch to our next amazing, super talented megastar speaker, Carolyn Pistone. Welcome.
Thank you, Haley. And thank you, Martha. Oh my goodness. I had to stop everything else I was doing and start taking notes. And I was feverishly nodding my head and saying, oh my goodness, I wish I'd talked to you 10 years ago.
Right.
Or 50 years ago when I really think about it.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carolyn Pistone, and the title of my talk is Collaboration is the New Competition. My company is Clear Blue Commercial, and we run a commercial real estate company that is a certified woman-owned business, a certified green business, a certified small business, and a B Corp. And I'm not trying to sell you real estate or talk to you about that today, but we have a values-centered business. It is also a 7-figure business that I built from scratch with no money and no credit. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm really saying that because what I have learned is less than 5% of the women-owned businesses in the entire country ever reach the 7-figure mark. So I think it's noteworthy. I am not terribly comfortable being defined by a dollar figure. And any of you who know me or have heard me speak before, you know that I believe that money isn't even a real thing. However, I thought that this accomplishment was worth noting. As I've started to speak and live my values, I recently spoke at a workshop put on by the brilliant Katarina Rando. And I love a microphone. I'm thrilled when anybody asks me to speak about anything. But when I went and I looked at how she had packaged my talk, I discovered my talk was labeled Lessons from a 7-Figure Phenom. And I was completely intimidated by this title. Number one, because I'm uncomfortable being defined by a dollar figure. And number two, I really had no sense of how I got there. Because I had never focused on the money. I had only focused on the values. I was at a world-changing women's summit a while back where we were talking about our businesses. And I was very vulnerable and candid and said, you know, less than 3 years ago, I was absolutely 90 days past my very last dollar, both personally and in the business. And in order to land a contract, I was tearing apart my couch cushions looking for change so that I could put gas in the car to get to the meeting to make the presentation. That's how desperate it was. And less than 3 years later, I had a 7-figure business. I was able to hire 10 more people and in good paying jobs and let them do their best work. And one of the women at the table said, well, to what do you attribute your massive success? And I was very proud and said, you know, I think it has to do with never wavering from my mission, vision, and values. But upon thinking about it later, I also attribute the fact that I was 90 days past my very last dollar to the exact same thing. So I don't want you all to think that if you just stick with your values and your mission, you're going to make $1 million. However, you'll be infinitely richer for it. I used to give a workshop when I was doing team building exercises and this sort of thing, where I would give out to the group sheet of paper that had 100 values on it. Things like sustainability and family and love and generosity and intelligence and all these and curiosity, all these types of things. And I'd hand these out to the group. The first thing I would say is if there's a value on here that's important to you, that is not on here, feel free to write it in. Two things would happen. First of all, everybody would be very concerned about doing it right. Because I would say, circle your top 5, the 5 that resonate with you the most. And people would get really, really, do we have to put our name on these? Do we have to, and I would assure everybody, first of all, that was just an indication of how uncomfortable people are in a business setting talking about their values. The first thing I would say is, genocide and pedophilia and pollution are not on this list. There is nothing bad on this list. There are no wrong answers. And I would make sure that it was short enough that I wasn't giving people a lot of time to think about it. Because I've done the exercise myself many times, and you can do it 2 times in the same day. You might circle different things depending on what's happening with you. It's just a temperature check for what's important to you right now. And then inevitably I would get the question every single time. Do you mean our values at work, or do you mean just our values in general? And this stumped me, because your values are your values. And if your values are different at work than they are in your personal life, then I would like to suggest maybe you're working in the wrong place. Or if you have your own business, maybe you're working on the wrong things. So then we would come together. I would collect the sheets, and I'd give them like 3 minutes. I'd collect the sheets and then tally up what are the top 5 for the group. What are the 5 that we all have in common? And then I would write them out and post them and say, okay, this is just an indication of these are the values that we share. These are the values that we can all agree that we have in common, and that we as a group are going to keep these values at the forefront of our minds whenever we're dealing with each other, whenever we're interacting at work, and also when it's a touchstone that we measure against whenever we're doing any kind of planning or goal setting or looking at what we want to do next. Let's make sure that we are adhering to our values. Then once we did that, we would do some vision and mission statements, incorporating those values into, okay, why do we come to work at all? And inevitably people will say, well, I need to pay my bills, and which is true. We all need to pay our bills and feed our families, and we all have a lot of obligations, and working for money is the way this society makes that happen. However, I know in my company, I didn't round all these people up with a gun and tell them they had to work here. People have choices. So I look at, okay, why did you come to work here? What is valuable to you here? So we look at the why of the individual employees and the why, and then look at the why of the company. Once we've measured that, then we can create a mission statement that we then really live by. We didn't hire a PR company to come and write our mission statement. We are creating this as a group. And in my company, as I'm sure in many of yours, we don't make a product. We're not selling widgets. We provide a service. Therefore, the service that we provide is our people. So for me as a business owner, my most important clients are my employees, because they're the ones that are providing service to our company's clients. So by doing that and having that together, we create it gives everybody a stake in what's going on in the company. We also have, I started an open door policy from the very beginning. I made sure that that everybody in the company, and it's a small company, so it was easy to do. It's more challenging as we scale, but we're figuring it out. I made sure that everybody knew what everybody else was doing. And because a portion of our company is sales-based, there are people that work on commissions. And when I was an employee at other companies, I thought it was inherently bad business to have every salesperson at every desk competing with every other person. It's bad for business. It's bad for morale. It's bad for the clients. Ultimately, it's not the kind of culture I wanted to create. So we had this open door policy. I was sitting in my office with 2 employees, and we had a particularly challenging, the client themselves was not challenging, but solving their challenge was challenging. And we were talking back and forth. And in the meantime, one of our maintenance engineers was standing in the doorway waiting to ask a question or tell us something. But he was quiet and he was listening. And there was a pause in the action. And all of a sudden he said, well, what you should really do is have that client purchase both of these properties. And on the one hand, being the real estate broker, I was pretty embarrassed that I didn't think of that solution, because it was absolutely the right solution. But as a business owner, I was so proud that I had created an environment where, first of all, this person who had a plunger in his hand at the time understood enough about what we were doing and felt valued enough to speak up, that he was able to do that. So the open door policy, living the values. The other thing that we do in our company, and I don't want to get too granular, but we, first of all, provide unlimited paid time off to all our employees for any reason. The reason that we do this is because we're humans, and humans deserve work-life balance. And we understand things come up, especially when the bulk of your people are working mothers. I find that no one has ever abused it, and we get so much value from that. The other thing that we do is we take a percentage of our gross revenue every year and divide it evenly across everybody in the company. So what that does is whether you're a guy with a plunger standing in the doorway, or whether you're a top producing salesperson, everybody has a stake in everybody else's success, and everybody gets to celebrate the success of the company. Back to the 7-figure phenom talk. I was absolutely, completely intimidated by that title. What I discovered when I began giving my talk is that I actually know what I'm talking about. And I actually do have tips to share that I learned the hard way, frankly. The main tip that I want to give you is that collaboration is the new competition. So much of our male-dominated capitalist society is built on the idea that there's a zero-sum game, meaning if I win, you have to lose. That's the only way I am going to be successful. And I am of the opinion that we have to all lift all of each other up together. I was shocked when I started my company, as I said, with no money and no credit and 2 or 3 employees. I was shocked that there were much, much larger, seemingly more successful companies that perceived our company as a threat and were actively trying to put us out of business. On the one hand, this is incredibly flattering that little old me could be a threat to anybody. On the other hand, it was incredibly short-sighted on their part that they were looking at somebody else's success as some sort of existential threat to them. What we have been able to do through all of our certifications, and there are many ways to solve this problem. This is just the way we've solved it. We have been able to go after large corporate contracts and government contracts, which is how we got into 7 figures, because there is usually a target spend for companies with our certifications. What we can do is partner with much bigger corporations that are going after similar types of contracts, because they can't go after them because they can't get those set aside target credits. We need their help because they have a much greater depth of resources than we do. And by collaborating, that gives us the opportunity to go after contracts that neither one of us could have gone after before. The other thing is, with our mission and values, is we have looked for ways to green every property we touch. We have done, during the drought here in California, we managed a huge office complex that had 65,000 square feet of lawn. And I would drive in the morning and see all the sprinklers just spraying off into the gutters and running down the storm drains. And you can't even eat your lawn. And it's a non-native plant. So what I thought we could do is, let's go ahead and do a turf conversion. We'll take out the lawn and the sprinklers. We'll put in a drip system and mulch and compost, and we'll put in some colorful, native, drought-tolerant plantings that would attract pollinators, and etc. I asked the landscaping company to give us a bid, and the bid came back at $250,000, which would pay for itself in water savings in 32 years. The property was owned by a big real estate investment trust out of the East Coast. And I knew this would be a non-starter for them. So we partnered with a local nonprofit, with the local water agency, with the city's program, because the city was was basically telling people to turn off their sprinklers. We got 150 volunteers. We hired some people to do massages. We hired 3 bands. We got people to donate snacks. And we got 150 volunteers. We went back to the landscape company so that they would do the prep work. And in addition, they donated a front loader and an operator for the day. It was supposed to take 3 weeks and cost $250,000. It ended up taking 6 hours and was $70,000, which was significantly less than the total landscaping budget for that property anyway. So they saved money on that. Plus, they continued to save money on mow and blow. We saved greenhouse gas emissions with the mower, the blower, the truck that brings the mower and the blower. We also saved water, and we were and as it happened, we made a video. So when I submitted the receipts, I started to get some questions, understandably so, from the client about why are we paying for massages on our landscaping budget? And who is the Bad Apple String Band? And why did we pay them out of our landscaping budget? And I was able to send them this fantastic, uplifting video. What that did was it made, first of all, they got it. As soon as they got the video, they got it. They loved it. As it happened, they showed it at their shareholders meeting, their annual shareholders meeting. They showed our little video of us, with shovels and rakes. What it did is it took what had been just a line item on somebody's spreadsheet and made it into something that investors from all over the country, in some cases all over the world, could feel really good about what they had contributed to. So and this was a collaboration. It didn't cost us any money. It didn't make us any money either. But then I am a 7-figure phenom. So things like this, it also furthered our mission. It brought the community together. That project alone is saving over 1.6 million gallons of water a year. We had another project where we were able to put a 100,000 square foot solar array on a building that we are managing as a subcontractor for the state. We did that with no out of pocket from our client, from the state, from us, or from the landlord. So we were able to just provide cleaner, cheaper energy immediately. So I like to say, if you're a taxpayer in the state of California, you are welcome. All of this comes back to living your mission, living your values, and looking for opportunities to collaborate with people who aren't necessarily in the same business as you are, but have the same mission. There are all kinds of people doing amazing things, as you're learning today. Once again, thank you, Mirtha. And thank you, Haley. There are so many ways to collaborate to bring us all up.
That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. This is really inspirational, because I think a lot of times people think that in order to make money, you have to have a ton of money to start, and then you can't get super creative. And the main impediment standing between me and success is money. And I actually grew my group organically without a budget, because that was my life situation at the time. Mm-hmm. And I continue to grow it. It pays for itself. So absolutely, I see it over and over again. People are like, I don't have money, so therefore I can't make money. And I'm like, maybe not.
You can always make money. You can always make money, especially because it's not even a real thing. I am the same person with the same value to bring, regardless of whether I'm bringing money to the table.
Darn straight. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. How does somebody get in touch with you?
I am Carolyn, Carolyn, at clearbluecommercial.com. You can also visit our company website, which is clearbluecommercial.com.
Putting that in the chat. Awesome. Thank you so much for being a speaker today. I really appreciate you. And I honestly hope that everybody will give Carolyn a huge round of applause. And hopefully this has piqued some kind of interest in your brain for being creative and finding collaborations. Thank you, Carolyn.
You bet. You're my hero, Haley. Thank you for doing this.
Likewise. Thank you.